Little Miss Sally walking down the street. She didn't know what to do, so she stopped in front of me. She said, "Go, Sally." Y'all, please tell me Sally is not the one that then clopped old boy upside the back of his head with that trophy. Let's talk about it. Hey y'all, welcome to my channel Reviewed, where we talk about all things television and film from today and yesteryear. So today I wanted to come on here and do a quick recap of Reasonable Doubt, episode 8 from season 2. Let's get into it. So the episode starts off with Jax letting Lewis know that she wants to be with him. She tells him that she loves him unconditionally. She wants him, all of him. She wants to be with him, and they are going to basically work things out. Now, I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I was like, okay, so is this the glow of love or the glow of delusional? I do not know. However, the next day, Lewis and Jax are all lovey dovey in front of the kids, and the kids is like, okay, so is this gonna be consistent or are we gonna be flip flopping? What's up? And also in this episode, guys, I noticed that we got a lot of moments with the family together. We got a lot of moments with Jax and the kids. We also got a moment in the episode where Jax and the kids go visit Jax's mom and her new boyfriend. So I'm sure that it's going to play a major role in what is about to happen and what is going to unfold once the children and Jax's mom finds out that Lewis is about to have another kid with Tony. So here we have Jax and Corey. They are both heading into the boardroom, and Corey wants to apologize to Jax. He was like, I apologize for the other night. I don't want this to affect our work relationship. And Jax was like, it's cool. I got it. And Corey was like, I know it's going to be difficult, but I just want you to understand that, it's just going to be professional from here on out. And she's looking at him like, Negro, please. Anyway, so they head into the boardroom. And they are basically going over all the people that are going to speak on behalf of Chanel. Jax is saying how important it is to make sure that they have people letting the jury know that Chanel was in the process of leaving her husband, and just to make sure that they are able to, I guess get everything going in their direction, because it looks as though they are trying to wrap up the case. And we also get a lot of courtroom moments in this episode as well. So here we have Essence Atkins, aka Dr. Michaels. She is speaking on behalf of Chanel, and she is basically explaining to the court and the jury how abusive relationships can often start. She says that, a person will basically show all these grand gestures, aka love bomb or whatnot, to a person, or they would share some traumatic experiences from their childhood and things of that nature to kind of build some type of I guess, sympathy and trust or whatnot with the other person. She also says that, they usually start to insert the controlling ways the longer the relationship goes. She said oftentimes when it comes to men and women, that they do not show the person who they are until they know that, basically you fall in love, gotten married, things like that. She also says that, men can also be on the receiving end of abuse. And she, just basically also expresses how oftentimes when it's a woman of color or a black woman, they are not believed all the time when it comes to reports of domestic violence and things like that. So as Lucy got up to cross-examine Dr. Michaels, she was asking her questions that were necessary for Chanel's, the situation Chanel's going through. She was like, well, she was able to get $30 million from her husband and, blah, 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 blah. And so Dr. Michaels was like, that's just a level of financial abuse. She was just basically stating all the levels and different types of abuse that actually exist in relationships between men and women. So as Lucy kept asking questions to me, it seemed like Lucy was also asking questions that kind of were beneficial to her because of her current situation, because we saw that Lucy got summoned by her ex-husband, who now wants custody of their son. And so as she was asking questions that were in relation to what Chanel is being tried for, it also to me seemed as though Lucy was getting answers to questions that she had for herself and what she is currently dealing with. So later on, Jax goes to pick up her son from school, and honey, he got him a little girlfriend or whatever, somebody that he liked named Aisha. And when Jax started singing Another Bad Creation song, Aisha, honey, I was cracking up because that was the jam back in the day. But anyway, after her son give her the side eye and looking at her like, Mom, please stop, you're embarrassing me. Jack spots Lucy in the parking lot with her son, and Lucy is basically having a interaction with her ex-husband, and Jax is kind of giving it the side eye like, okay, what's going on, what's tea? So Lewis and Jax go see the marriage counselor, and the counselor lets them know that he is glad that they decided to stay together and they are not uncoupling. He was like, he's happy for them, and they're having a conversation, and Lewis, it's like, yeah, my brother's coming in town. And I can't wait to see him. And Jackson's like, okay, that's cool. That should be fun. Until Lewis lets Jax know that he did let his brother know all the goings on between the two of them. And Jackson's like, Negro, God, dog, why you telling folks our business like this? And Lewis is basically like, who else was I going to confide in? That's my brother. I needed someone to talk to. And so the counselor basically is like, okay, so what is y'all next step? And they both kind of like, well, XYZ. And the counselor basically tells them what the next step should be. And honey, that's when we get to Tony house. Okay. So Jax and Lewis goes to Tony house, honey. And when Tony opened up that door and she saw Lewis, that smile on her face, and Lewis was like, can we come in? And she was like, we. And baby Jax showed up around that corner. Anyway, so they go into the house, and Jax is letting Tony know that she is not alone, that Lewis is going to be in the child's life as well as she is. And Tony at that point lets them know that it's a boy. And Lewis is kind of happy. And Jax, she's looking like, okay. And Tony is like, yeah, I've always wanted a boy. And, Jax is trying to be, trying to have a little conversation with her. She's like, girl, boys or something else. You're going to have your hands full, but, you're going to also have our support and our help. So again, we got another day in court. This particular day in court was centered around Chanel's handwriting and her signature. So they had a couple of specialists come in and testify about her signatures, and if her signatures can be different as far as when she signed certain documents, or if she had an injury or whatnot to her wrist, is something that Lucy ended up saying in the courtroom. But this is what this day in court was about. It was basically centered around the documents that Chanel signed. So later on that night, we get this moment between Jax and Lewis' brother. And Lewis' brother basically lets Jax know, hey, I'm not here for what's going on with my brother and him getting ready to have a baby, but I'm not here for what you did either and what you put him through. And he basically lets Jax know, if you are not okay with the current situation that Lewis is in, you need to let him know and you need to leave him alone. Because he was like, you're not about to keep playing with my brother. You're not going to keep playing with his feelings. And you're not going to pretend like you want to be in something if you really don't want to be in it. And so as they are having a back and forth, Lewis ends up walking in. And so the tension between the two of them kind of dismantles, and they are basically just trying to put on a poker face like all is well. So we get this moment between Jax and Lucy. They are at an event at their kids' school. I think it's called Parents for Pastries or something like that. Anyway, so Lucy and Jax got something else in common, honey. They both like to puff on a cigarette, okay? So they're outside chopping it up, talking. And they're talking about being single parents, and Jax, she expresses how she was raised by a single parent. Lucy was like, well, you turned out okay. So they're both kind of giving each other their props and still low-key throwing shade at each other, you know what I'm saying? But in this moment, I was surprised that Jax did not ask Lucy any questions about what she saw, the day that she picked her son up. And Lucy did not offer any information either. So I was kind of like, okay, so I guess it's not going to be that type of girl moment, with the two of them. But I did want her to kind of open up a little bit to Jax, but I get it. Hey, they both working on the trial where they're going against each other or whatnot. Anyway, honey, when the lady with the blonde hair walked outside and saw them smoking on them cigarettes, and the way the two of them was, it was like they were some teenagers in high school. Like, yeah, we the girls that smoking, you the popular girl that's gonna go run tell that. Like, girl, get out of our face. That was funny. It was cute. It was a cute moment. It was cute. So Lewis goes over to Tony's house because they're basically discussing the birthing plan, and he goes there and he sees this lady, the lady with the head wrap. She's the doula, and she's basically saying that Tony chose to, to do a home birth. It's safer, and things like that. And Lewis is kind of skeptical. He's like, "Are you sure that's something you want to do, Tony? Those can be kind of unsafe." And Tony was like, "Yeah, I had complications with my daughter, and I had to spend weeks away from her because of the hospital and blah, 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 blah." So the doula explains to Louis, just like, it's safe. Her OBGYN will be on call at the hospital if anything goes awry, but she should be fine. And the doula also says to Louis, she was like, and once the baby gets here, we just want to make sure it's very important that you're here with the mommy and the baby to look after them 24/7. And so Louis was like, around the clock, like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to check with Jax. And here this trick, Tony go, "This, what you mean check with her? This is my baby." And I'm thinking to myself, this trick, I don't like this lady. So it's the fact that you are already emboldened enough to be okay with sleeping with two people's husbands. But the fact that this man, and you know that he has a wife and kids at home, you're telling him, well, if you can't be here at the birth and be here when I need you to be, then you don't need to have no parts of anything with my baby. I'm like, girl, when I tell y'all this, women like this, I do not like, because she does not care. She has no respect for his marriage. And quiet as it's kept, she has no respect for herself, because if she did, she never would have laid with him in the first place. Anyway, Lewis is just kind of looking at her like, girl, like, we're not about to act like you, it's just going to be just about you. But, Tony, she's, basically letting him know that if it's not going to be what Tony wants it to be, then he can be about his business, because she's not here for it. Okay? I don't like her. Not at all. So here we get to the day in court, baby. Well, the courtroom started rocking just a little bit because Sally was not here to play the radio. Okay. So she gets on the stand and Jackson's just asking her, she's like, "How do you know Chanel?" She's like, "That's my cousin. That's my blood, but that's my sister. That's my cousin, but that's my sister. I love her like a sister." So Sally is still on the stand, and Jax is asking her questions. She ends up asking her about these photos, and Sally was like, "I took those pictures because we wanted to have proof in the event if anything were to happen to her. We just wanted to make sure that we had documentation of all the times that she had to deal with this Negro and his temper." And Sally also talks about a story of, because she does say that she witnessed sometimes, she did witness some of the abuse, and how he had a gambling issue, and Chanel ended up spilling water on him, and he just basically blew up or whatnot. Like, he was the type of person, he was comfortable with displaying his anger in front of certain people. And so Sally, she basically was like, she had a front seat to the abuse that Chanel had to endure. And also, y'all, Sally talks about how she called the police after, she saw JT blow up on Chanel, and he threw the glass or whatnot after she spilled the water. And she said when the police got there, they were more concerned about JT because he was the celebrity. And she was just basically giving the courtroom an example of how JT would often use his celebrity and his popularity to get out of situations with the police, which would indicate why no police report would be filed, because they were enamored with the fact that they are in the presence of a celebrity. She even said that JT gave them tickets to a game, like VIP tickets. So anyway, they get into they start having talks about this particular escape plan that Sally and Chanel had put in place. And this here is the checklist of the things that they were going to do to, basically get Chanel out of the situation. And of course, they basically checked off some of the things that they were able to get done at the time, but we all know that that list was not complete due to what ended up happening to JT. So this is where things get a little contentious in the courtroom, because Lucy gets up and she starts hammering Sally with questions. I'm not gonna lie, Lucy, she was hammering Sally quite a bit in her cross-examination. She started out with the list. She was like, "So how many things on this list were y'all able to get through?" And Sally was like, "4." She's like, "4 in that amount of time?" And Sally was like, "Well, we wanted to make sure that Chanel stayed alive. We had to move quiet and slowly, to make sure that my cousin, nothing was going to happen to her." And so they also get into this conversation about selling things to get money for Chanel. And so Lucy was like, so everything that you sold belongs to Chanel. None of it, everything was hers. She was like, yeah. So Lucy pulls up this receipt, honey, about this jersey that they sold that did belong to JT. And Sally was like, well, he had several of them. He wasn't going to miss just one. She was like, yeah, but you just said that everything y'all sold belonged to Chanel. Anyway, so they are going through this contentious, they're having this contentious rebuttal. And Lucy also says to her, so you're saying that, you never witnessed JT putting his hands on Chanel specifically. However, you took pictures of these bruises on her, and she pulls up the pictures with the bruises of Sally again. She says, so if you never actually saw JT be physically violent with Chanel, how do you know he's the one who put these bruises on her? And, Sally was like, because she wouldn't lie about anything like that. She's like, okay, so she wouldn't lie about anything like that, but you never saw it yourself. And honey, so they're having this back and forth, and finally Sally just basically was like, I'm glad that mofo is dead and not her. I'm glad that he gone. He got exactly what he deserved. After she said that, Lucy was like, no further questions, Your Honor. I was like, oh my Lord, what in the heck just happened? Because girl, did you just tell on yourself, Sally? Did you just tell on yourself? Okay. So we get this moment from Chanel where she's taking a shower in jail. And this is after court and after, I guess, a lady that she, kind of associated with and became friendly with in jail is sent to meet the Grim Reaper. So she is taking a shower. And in this moment, she starts hearing all these voices of people saying, I believe you're hiding something. Did you really, you know, murk JT? And she's hearing all these voices, and she is basically just trying to free her mind of whatever it is that is starting to weigh on her in reference to everything that she's currently dealing with this trial. So Chanel ends up getting a visit from Adrian, and he apologizes to her. He is letting her know, what he's dealing with in reference to his career at the moment, probation, and things of that nature. And before he leaves, he does tell Chanel that he is in love with her and he wants to marry her. Of course, she is shocked because she can't believe what he just said. And he said, he knows this a lot, but that he wants to marry her once she gets out of jail. So Louis comes home. He's been hanging out with his brother. They've been out drinking or whatnot. And he's a little tipsy. And Jax is like, she could tell he's tipsy. She's like, you need something to drink, whatever. And he was like, nah, I'm good right now. And he just starts talking, and he tells her that Tony basically threatened him, like pretty much gave him an ultimatum about the situation with the baby. And Jax was like, for real? And he was like, yeah. He was like, man, I feel so bad about this. He was like, my F up, now I got to deal with this woman for 18 years. It's like, can you imagine me having to deal with her for 18 years just because of my mistake, my F up? And he was like, I just wish this baby would just go away. And he tells Jax, he's very apologetic to her. He's apologizing and just saying, I'm sorry. Can you forgive me? And, she's looking at him like, okay, he drunk or whatever. But the next morning, Jax basically says to him, she's like, look, Louis, I love you. I'm with you. We're gonna rock this thing out together. She was like, everything I put you through, you stood by my side, and she was like, I'm with you. I'm in this with you. However, you asking me for forgiveness is for you. It has nothing to do with me. And she is just basically letting him know when it is her time to forgive him, that is going to be because that is how she feels. That is what she wants to do at that moment. But don't ask her to forgive him to basically make him feel better, because, at this point in time, that's just not what it's going to be. So we got another day in court, and this lady, I believe her name was Mrs. Gray. She is speaking on behalf of Chanel. She is a clerk at some facility or whatnot. And Corey, he was a little apprehensive about her getting on the stand because he just wasn't sure that it would help the case. Anyway, this lady basically is letting everybody know, including Lucy, because at one point Lucy does get up to cross-examine this lady, and she tells her that the reason why Chanel stood out to her is because she said when most women come in to file any type of report, I guess restraining order or whatever, when they're looking for protection, she said they are usually covered up, got on glasses and a hat. And she said that Chanel was not hiding who she was, that she came in as herself. And she said that she did not go through with it. She said she did not go through with the filing. And she said those women stand out to her the most because that lets her know how intimidated and how afraid they are to go through with the process. So ultimately, this woman was beneficial um, to the case. And, ultimately, her testifying for Chanel, it did work out in her favor. And here we just have Corey and Jax leaving the courtroom, and Corey is basically bigging up Jax. It was like, you was right. I'm glad we went through with that. And then he also, throw his little flirt in after he told Jax, he wanted to be professional. He basically was telling her, your husband is a very lucky man. And Jax was like, okay, I'll be sure to let him know. Okay, bye. So we get a moment when Autumn goes visit Chanel in jail, and she tells Chanel, she's like, "Girl, I'm sorry it took me this long to come see you. I just can't imagine, being in here." And Chanel was like, "Oh, honey, I know what it's like because I'm here, okay." And Autumn, she also apologized to Chanel. She was like, "I'm sorry that I didn't know about the abuse and that." I contributed to the fact that you didn't feel comfortable enough to tell me about it. I'm sorry that I didn't make you feel that you could confide in me. And Chanel was like, "Girl, please, that is not your fault. It ain't got nothing to do with you." She was like, "JT had me all effed up, baby. He made me believe that y'all felt like y'all was better than me." And Autumn was like, "What?" And she was like, "Girl, yeah, it's just a part of his abuse to kind of make her feel like no one would care." And so they have a heart to heart. And, Autumn basically says to Chanel that she loves her and that she is deserving of happiness and, of whatever good is going to await her on the outside once she ultimately gets out of jail. So, baby, we get this moment where she going to pick up another child from school, honey. She sees Tony and she was like, "So I heard you threaten to take the baby away from Lewis." And Tony was like, "Our baby?" She was like, "Exactly. The baby has two parents, which means Lewis has rights." And she was like, "You're not about to play the radio with my husband. You're not about to play these games." And she basically told Tony, she was like, "If you want us to go to court, then you can get you an attorney and then you can face me in court again." Tony was like, "Is that a threat?" Jackson was like, "No, sweetheart. I'm just letting you know who I is. Okay. I need to let you know who I am. You're not about to play these games with Lewis. He has rights and you're not about to threaten him with his child because things are not going to go the way that you expect them to go." And then I noticed, once they parted ways, Jax went back to her car, how she grabbed the bottom of her stomach. And I was like, okay, so what y'all trying to do? Because Lewis did say that he wished the baby did not exist. So I hope y'all not about to take us through a whole spiel where this girl is going to give birth prematurely. And it's just going to be this whole drawn out ordeal with her and Lewis and this baby. I don't know what y'all going to do. I already don't like the fact that this heifer is about to have a baby with Lewis with her trifling behind. But I guess we shall see what happens. Okay. And here we get an introduction into Candy Bates Barris Tucker character, honey. So she basically is JT's baby mama. We saw through the episode Daniel trying to get in touch with her. And so this is who she is. And he basically is asking her to testify on Chanel's behalf and just let everybody know her side of the story and how things transpire between she and JT. And here is where the ball drops at the end of the episode when Chanel calls Sally and basically says, "Look, we need to rethink this whole plan. I think it's time we tell the truth." And so we get Sally on the end. It's like, okay, just wait till we see each other in person. Until then, don't say anything else. Now, I do not see them having Sally be the one that sent JT to meet the Grim Reaper. However, it does make sense as to why she was so adamant about putting her house up for bond after her husband said, "No, we are not getting involved in that. We're not putting our house up." So I am wondering if she is ultimately the person that sent JT to his demise. However, how will that affect the friend group? Because if they get rid of Sally, who will they incorporate into the friend circle? You know what I'm saying? Like, why would I don't know. I still feel like it's a possibility that JT's oldest daughter is the one that clocked him upside his head. And I think we may get a bit more information as to what she experienced with JT and her mother, aka Candy. So I'm hoping that is the situation, because if they do not, and it does turn out to be Sally who is the one that sent him to meet his demise, it's like, okay, so the friend group is going to suffer somewhat, because they are going to have one removed, basically. And I get they don't have too many emphasis on the girlfriends group, their relationship throughout the show, but I just do not see that happening. However, again, it does make sense as to why Sally was so adamant about putting her house up and making sure that Chanel got bond to get out. So I don't know, y'all. I don't know. I'm still thinking it's a possibility that JT's oldest daughter is the one that clocked him upside the head. But now we do have a situation where Sally could be the one. So I guess we shall wait and see. We do have 2 more episodes left. And I guess, like I said, things are just going to unravel, and we will just kind of figure out what direction they're going to go in. Well, that's all I have for you guys today in this video. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate the support, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.